Famous people who passed away in 1745. Before we proceed, please subscribe to our channel to support us. Josiah Franklin. He was born in December 1657 and he died in January 1745. His age was 87 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was the father of Benjamin Franklin, remembered for his role in raising a family that would produce one of America's most notable founding fathers. He was an English businessman. Benjamin had a very strong relationship with his father, who had great influence on Benjamin. He was born in village of Acton in Northamptonshire, England. He emigrated to Massachusetts Bay in British America. He was the ninth child of blacksmith Thomas Franklin and his first wife, Jane White. Thomas was the son of Henry Franklin and Agnes Durrance. Thomas Franklin remarried and had more children. Josiah Franklin worked as a fabric dyer in Acton. Franklin immigrated to American colonies in 1682. He married twice and had 17 children, 10 boys and 7 girls. In Boston, he was a member of Congregational Old South Church, where he served as tithing man. Robert Walpole. He was born in August 1676 and he died in March 1745. His age was 68 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was bladder stone. He was the first de facto Prime Minister of Great Britain, known for his long tenure and skillful management of Parliament during the early Georgian period. He was a British Whig politician who served as the Prime Minister of Great Britain from 1721 to 1742. He also served as the first Lord of Treasury, Chancellor of Exchequer, and leader of the House of Commons, and is greatly regarded as the de facto first Prime Minister of Great Britain, although the exact dates of Walpole's dominance, dubbed the Robinocracy, are a matter of scholarly debate. The period of 1721 to 1742 is often used. He dominated the Walpole Township Ministry and as well as subsequent Walpole Ministry, and holds the record as the longest serving British Prime Minister. Isaac Greenwood. He was born in May 1702 and he died in October 1745. His age was 43 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death were effects of alcohol. He was the first Hollis Professor of Mathematics and Natural Philosophy at Harvard University, known for his contributions to mathematics and early American academia. He graduated at Harvard in 1721 and was instrumental in the smallpox inoculation controversy of that year. Speaking out in favor of inoculation, he traveled to London, where he lodged with John Theophilus Desargulis and attended his lectures on Newtonian experimental philosophy. He later introduced the subject in the American colonies, and his book, An Experimental Course of Mechanical Philosophy, published in Boston in 1726, owed much to Desargulis. In London, Greenwood met Thomas Hollis, who wished to endow a chair at Harvard College for him. Hollis later fell out with Greenwood over his financial imprudence. Jonathan Swift. He was born in November 1667 and he died in October 1745. His age was 77 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was stroke. He was an Irish writer and cleric, best known for his satirical works such as Gulliver's Travels and his role as Dean of St. Patrick's Cathedral in Dublin. His deadpan, iconic writing style, particularly in A Modest Proposal, has led to such satire being subsequently termed Swiftian. Swift is remembered for works such as A Tale of a Tub, an argument against abolishing Christianity, Gulliver Travels, and A Modest Proposal. He originally published all of his works under pseudonyms. He was a master of two styles of satire, the Horatian and Juvenalian styles. He is regarded by the Encyclopedia Britannica as the foremost prose satirist in the English language. James Butler, 2nd Duke of Ormond. He was born in April 1665 and he died in September 1745. His age was 80 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an Irish soldier and statesman who played a prominent role in the Jacobite Rising and served as Lord Lieutenant of Ireland under Queen Anne. He was the third of the Kilcash branch of family to inherit the earldom of Ormond. Like his grandfather, the first Duke, he was raised as a Protestant, unlike his extended family who held to Roman Catholicism. He served in the campaign to put down the Monmouth Rebellion in the Williamite War in Ireland, in the 9 Years' War, and the War of Spanish Succession, but was accused of treason and went into exile after Jacobite Rising of 1715. Henry Scudamore, 3rd Duke of Beaufort. He was born in March 1707 and he died in February 1745. His age was 37 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an English duke, known for his restoration of Badminton House and contributions to his estate's agricultural development. He was an English nobleman and peer who supported Jacobitism. At the age of 19, Beaufort commissioned the construction of what would later become known as the Badminton Chest or Badminton Cabinet, an ornate set of drawers made in Florence. The chest was sold in 2004 to Hans Adam II, Prince of Liechtenstein, for £19 million, making it the most expensive piece of furniture in the world. It is on display in Palace Liechtenstein in Vienna, Austria. The Duke was one of several founding governors of Britain's first institution for abandoned children, the Fonling Hospital, and his name is listed in its royal charter, received from George II in October 1739. Jean-Baptiste Valu. He was born in January 1684 and he died in December 1745. His age was 61 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a French painter celebrated for his portraits of prominent European figures, including royalty and aristocracy. During the 18th century, he was patronized by Prince of Carignan, who sent him to Rome, where he studied under Benedetto Lotti. He was much employed painting for churches in Rome, and in particular executed a greatly praised Scourging of Christ for the Church of Santa Maria in Monticelli. At Turin, he painted Charles Emmanuel II, Duke of Savoy, and several members of his court, then moving to Paris, where he was elected as a member of Académie de Royal. He executed various altarpieces and restored the works of Francesco Primaticcio at Fontainebleau. Mantis Zelenka. He was born in October 1679 and he died in December 1745. His age was 66 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was dropsy. He was a Bohemian composer whose Baroque compositions, particularly sacred music, earned him recognition as one of the greatest musicians of his time. His music is admired for its harmonic inventiveness, and mastery of counterpoint. Zelenka was raised in central Bohemia, educated in Prague and Vienna, and spent his professional life in Dresden. The greatest success during his career was the performance of the extensive composition Sub Olia Pacis et Palma Virtuosis in the presence of the Emperor Charles VI. Shortly after his coronation as King of Bohemia in 1723. In 1709, in Prague, Zelenka served Baron von Johann Herbert von Hartig before his appointment as a violin player in Dresden's Royal Orchestra. Hadrik Katarina Delegati. She was born in 1695 and she died in November 1745. Her age was 50 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was undisclosed. She was a Swedish noblewoman and philanthropist, known for her patronage of science and influence within Swedish court society. She was a Swedish countess, notable for her salon and political activity. She was a well-known political figure during the party strife of the Age of Liberty and used her influence in favor of the Had's party and its ally France. Her family had suffered from economic problems due to great reversion of Charles XI of Sweden in 1680s and the marriage with Hadrik Katarina, who was a very wealthy family, saved her spouse from ruin. She had 6 children, among them being the scientist Eva Ekeblad. Charles VII, Holy Roman Emperor. He was born in August 1697 and he died in January 1745. His age was 47 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was gout. He was a Holy Roman Emperor during the War of Austrian Succession, remembered for his conflict with Maria Theresa and his tumultuous reign. He was Elector of Bavaria from 26 February 1726 and Holy Roman Emperor from 24th January 1742 to his death. He was also King of Bohemia as Charles Albert from 1741 to 1743. Charles was a member of the House of Wittelsbach, and his reign as Holy Roman Emperor thus marked the end of 3 centuries of uninterrupted Habsburg imperial rule, although he was related to the Habsburgs by both blood and marriage. He became Elector following the death of his father in 1726. Joseph Effner. He was born in February 1687 and he died in February 1745. His age was 58 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a German architect who introduced Rococo style in Bavarian architecture, best known for his designs of the Nymphenburg Palace. In 1706, he was retained by Gabriel Germain Beaufront in Paris. Here he changed his family name to Effner. In 1717, Effner was sent by Elector to Italy for a study trip. From 1715 to 1726, Effner was then court architect of the Elector. Joseph Effner introduced modern French ideas of architecture to the Munich court. After the death of Enrico Zuccalli in 1724, he received even more competences. With the accession to power of Charles Albert in 1726, Effner was replaced by his pupil François Duquevilliers and then worked in the administration. He died in Munich. Etienne Fourmont. He was born in June 1683 and he died in December 1745. His age was 62 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a French Orientalist and philologist Known for his early work in the study of Asian languages and cultures, particularly Chinese, he served as professor of Arabic at the Collège de France and published grammars on the Arabic, Hebrew, and Chinese languages, although he is remembered as a pioneering sinologist who did careful and influential work on the nature of Chinese characters. His legacy is significantly tarnished by the fact that he earned his early reputation by stealing the work of Arcadius Huang, whom he had helped catalogue the Royal Sinological Collection, and that he frequently plagiarized the works of other scholars. In 1711, Louis XIV appointed him to assist Arcadius Huang, a Catholic Chinese convert, in cataloguing the French royal collection of works in Chinese and compiling a Chinese dictionary. Tomasu Crudeli, he was born in December 1702 and he died in March 1745. His age was 42 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was torture and imprisonment. He was an Italian poet persecuted for his beliefs and writings under the Inquisition. He was a Florentine free thinker who was imprisoned by the Roman Inquisition. He was a poet, lawyer, champion of free thought, and is remembered as the first martyr of the Universal Freemasonry. He became secretary, but became a scapegoat for the growing conflict between Venetian and English Freemasonry. Tomaso suffered a long imprisonment on uncertain charges, which was later commuted to perpetual house arrest. Bedbound at the end of his life, he died from the after effects of torture and imprisonment on 27th March 1745 in Poppy. He had time to dictate a long report ordered by Grand Duke, on the basis of which the Inquisition Tribunal of Florence was finally closed in 1744, while Tomaso was still alive. Tommaso Antonio Vitali, he was born in March 1663 and he died in May 1745. His age was 82 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an Italian composer and violinist, best remembered for his Chaconne in G minor, which remains a staple of the violin repertoire. The eldest son of Giovanni Battista Vitali, he is chiefly known for a Chaconne, to which he is traditionally attributed as the composer. The work was published from a manuscript in the Sächsische Landesbibliothek in Dresden in Die Hoch, chewed as violin spills, edited by German violinist Ferdinand David. That works wide-ranging modulations into distant keys have raised speculation that it could not be genuine Baroque work, while the lack of similarities to other works by Vitali have made modern scholars cast serious doubts on the attributions. Franois Henri, he was born in January 1671 and he died in May 1745. His age was 74 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a French military leader who commanded forces during the War of Polish Succession and served as Marshal of France under Louis XV. He entered the army at an early age and had a varied career of active service before he was made at the age of 23 Lieutenant Colonel of King's Regiment of Cavalry. He served continuously in the War of Spanish Succession and was present at Malplaquet. He was made Lieutenant General in 1710 and served with Villars in the last campaign of the war, and at the Battle of Denain during the peace he continued in military employment, and in 1719 he was made Director General of Cavalry and Dragoons. He was also employed in diplomatic missions and was ambassador in England in 1724. Sir John Barr, 2nd Baronet. He was born in October 1686 and he died in September 1745. His age was 59 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Scottish baronet and a politician who played a role in governance of Scotland. Following the Acts of Union 1707, he was appointed Commissioner of the Equivalent in 1715 and held the post until 1719. He lost his seat in Edinburghshire. When defeated in a contest at 1722 general election in 1737, he succeeded his father as baronet. When his cousin Sir Charles Gilmore had to stand at a by-election for Edinburgh, when appointed to office in 1744, he decided to oppose him, was unsuccessful. Baird died at the age of 58 without issues at Berwick-upon-Tweed on 30th September 1745. With his death, the baronetcy became extinct. Thanks for watching the video. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Have a nice day.